Well, thank you so much. And this is still Morning at NTV, and this time we're coming to you from Entebbe Municipality in Wakiso District, Uganda. And this morning we'll be speaking matters legislation because the East African Legislative Assembly members representing the 8 member states are in Entebbe to discuss a lot of things. One among them is, of course, domesticating the airlines that are into the region. We understand of the fact that, of course, there's been a lot of differences, especially in air travels. For example, I am told that flying from here to New York has become quite cheaper than somebody flying from Congo to any other member, maybe Tanzania, Kenya, or Uganda here. And the reason is, of course, that the member states have made the aviation industry to be part of their revenue generating, ventures. But the member states are saying now we need to have a single airspace use. For example, when I say domesticating is from here to Congo to, from here to Kenya, Tanzania, and the rest, that should be called a local flight. Because when you get up to the skies, it will be an international travel according to the regulators. And these people, of course, are meeting the regulators and the rest to see. You remember that we also have the East African airline that collapsed back in the days. So we do not know whether this move partly seeks to restore some of the services that were being offered by the East African airlines or not. But of course, this engagement continues to, seek redress and the rest. The member states are saying, it's enough of what the cities that belong to the East African community have been going through. Remember, we had the one border stop point and the rest that have been implemented and now a success. But we want to understand this from a broader context. And joining me this time is the honorable member of Parliament representing Kenya, the East African Parliament representing Kenya, that is David Ole Sankok, joining me on Morning at NTV. Honorable, thank you so much for making time to join me on Morning at NTV.
Thank you, Ivan.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here and we are here to oversight CASOA.
Yes.
That is a civic organization, civic association, safety and security agency of the whole of East Africa.
I have been following part of your conversations, and
yes,
you're talking about domesticating the East African member states. When you say domesticating, what do you mean exactly to make the starters, maybe for starters?
Yes, Ivan, it is very funny that if you travel by road, because of the custom union and the common market protocol, which we have already implemented fully, you are not considered as a foreigner. If you travel from Kenya to Uganda, you only use an ID, you don't need a visa. To travel to the 8 member states, nowhere is there any requirement of a visa. But if you travel by air, then if you land in Entebbe from Nairobi, you are considered as a foreigner. And you are not a foreigner, you are not from Europe. So we are trying to say that we should actually have a single airspace. We should domesticate our airspace so that anybody traveling from Europe to Entebbe is the same as somebody who have traveled from Europe to Nairobi. It is still, once you are inside, then you become a local. You no longer become a foreigner. So that we then have this issue of having a single visa permit for the tourists, so that when the tourists land in Nairobi, they can travel seamlessly without any barrier to Uganda, Tanzania, and any other member state among the 8 member states.
Okay, you were talking about that as, of course, legislators into that. But we understand that this is one of the ways that member states generate revenue.
Yes.
That's why you have difference in the air permits, you have difference in the, the tickets for the travelers and the rest, because the member states use that to generate revenue.
Ivan, are you patriotic enough to the East African community? We have been patriotic enough to the East African community to the issue of shelving the revenue we used to make in respective member states out of visas. Our people used to travel from Kenya to Uganda, and they required a visa. There was charges for you to be able to move. Nowadays, we have one border stop unit where goods travel from one state to another. Goods from Kenya to Tanzania are not considered as imported goods. They are considered as locally manufactured goods. So we did away with all that revenue that we are making individual countries for the sake of East African community. We can still do away with the revenue we are making by considering a colleague, a fellow Rwandan as a foreigner in Kenya, a fellow Tanzanian as a foreigner in Uganda. We really have to shelve for the sake of East African community economic bloc.
You had the East African airline that collapsed years ago. Is that partly pointing at what you want to implement?
In fact, that is the direction we want to take, and that is why we came to Kasoa, so that we can know what legislation do they require, so that we can pass as quick as possible in the East African Legislative Assembly, so that if we can have the East African airline, once our space is one, then we can amalgamate all our Uganda Air together with Kenyan Air, KQ, and
do you now
Tanzania
rebrand them, or they can operate with their brandings on? If we maybe you're talking about Uganda Airline, Kenya.
You know, the East African Community Economic Bloc have 4 pillars. One of the pillars is the custom union, which we have implemented. Everybody move freely. We have one passport. We have East African passport. We don't have Uganda passport. We don't have Tanzania passport. We don't have Kenya passport. It is actually one passport. So we also have implemented the common market protocol, whereby it is very easy for you to move goods from one place to another one. What is remaining is the 2 other pillars, the monetary union pillar, which will give us one currency, the political union pillar, which will give us a government. Those are the ones that we have not yet implemented. But we are going towards that one. The anger of us domesticating the airspace is angered under the 2 pillars that we have fully implemented, the custom union pillar and the common market pillar. So there is nothing that is actually hindering us from having the East African airline, which then all these...
maybe before you go to... Does that in any way call for also uniting the aviation institutions in the member states to see that they speak as one? Because in Uganda we have civil aviation, Kenya may have its own aviation policies and regulations and the rest in as far as other, but do you see all of them also now coming together as one?
That is why we are here, so that we can know what is the Uganda Aviation Association deal with, what is the Kenya Aviation Authority deal with, so that we can harmonize all these policies and all these laws, so that we can have one single law that deal with all our airports as local airports. When you travel from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Entebbe International Airport, you are considered as if you are locally traveling within one country. So these policies must be harmonized, and that is why we are here, so that we learn what is in Entebbe International Airport, what is in JKIA International Airport, what is in Mount Kilimanjaro International Airport, so that we can be able to harmonize all of them.
You are legislators. This can be backed up by the other stakeholders, the policy makers, especially. Let me, say the technicals into this, and how will the member states receive these? What is the reception of these whole ideas in the member states?
Of course, all member states are ready, and once the East African Legislative Assembly, which is a regional parliament, make a law, then it is upon regional national parliaments to domesticate by ratifying whatever law that we have made up there. Once you ratify, it becomes part of your law. So the law that we'll make as the East African Parliament is supersede the law that is in Ugandan Parliament. What Uganda Parliament have to do is to ratify. Once they have ratified that law, then it becomes part of your law as Uganda. Kenya ratifying the law that we will pass in East African Legislative Assembly, then it becomes part of Kenyan law. So once we have passed these laws, then they will automatically, once they are ratified, become laws. But they must be signed into law by the head of state summit. So all our head of states summit, which are 8 head of states, will sign into law and then now cascade it to the respective local parliaments.
You were meeting Kasoa yesterday, I assume. What is the reception of this concept in relation to how you want it to be?
Of course, all of them, because it is shameful, my friend Ivan, that today, if you travel from Kenya to Congo, you'll pay $4,000 US. But traveling, that is a distance of 1,800 kilometers. But traveling from Nairobi to New York, which is a distance of 12,000 kilometers, you pay $2,000 US. It's shameful. Traveling from Entebbe to...
Within the member states, it's expensive.
Yes. Traveling from Entebbe to Dubai is cheaper than traveling from Entebbe to Nairobi. And Nairobi, you can travel by car. Nairobi is just a distance of 700 kilometers. So, of course, once we domesticate the airspace, the air tickets will automatically become very cheap, and it will be easier for our citizens. Because at the moment, if you ask Ugandans, how many of them, what is the percentage of those who have traveled using aeroplanes? There are very few of them. But if you go to Europe, almost everybody have one time or another travel using aeroplanes. In Europe, aeroplanes are like buses. If you ask anybody, have you traveled using train or bus or aeroplane, they are equal. But here in Uganda, here in East Africa, because of the charges, the air tickets, very few people of East Africa have traveled using aeroplanes. In fact, probably it is 5%. Only the rich and the mighty travel using airlines. But we are not in East African community to only be a community of the rich and the mighty. No, we are in East African community so that everybody enjoy being an East African citizen. And that is what we want to do. You can imagine East African community with 350 million people is a market bigger than that of United States of America. East African community having 1.4 billion acres of land. And that is arable land. We don't have a desert. We have 38 freshwater lakes, which we can utilize in blue economy. But if you ask our citizens, do you even travel by air? They don't travel. They use matatu, buses, and the low cadre of transport system, because East African community is a community at the moment of the rich and mighty. That is what we want to eliminate.
Honorable, maybe as we wind up the conversation now, after meeting Kassoa and the rest, what is next for the legislators, EALA, as far as how you're in Uganda?
Our work is to oversight all the funds that member states contribute, because it is the taxes of our citizens, to any institution. So the next institution will be the East African Development Bank. But as per now, we have received a communication that we are not allowed to go there. So we wonder, you receive money from the member states of the East African community, you don't want to be oversighted, you don't want to be asked questions, then is there anything that they are hiding? You know? But for me, we will see the Minister of Finance of Uganda. After that, for me, I think we better go there by force. If they deny us access to the East African Development Bank, and who are given the mandate by the citizen of East Africa, the 350 million people of East African community, to oversight their funds, their taxes, then we will ask the East African community, the 350 million citizens of East Africa, to come and oversight that institution on themselves, because those are their money. So if their representatives are denied access, because I'll go there, I will see if they can throw tear gas to me. I'll go there, I'll see if they can beat me. I'll go there, I'm a person with disability, they can break my other leg. Because I've been given the mandate, I was elected to oversight all the funds that are contributed by member states. East African Development Bank receive money from member states. So I must go there. If they chase me away, I will call all the citizens of the East African community, the 350 million of them. I'll tell them, I'm not able to oversight that money. I don't know if the money is being stolen. All of you come to Uganda, go to that bank, oversight for yourself.
Honorable, I am told we have run out of time, but I really want to thank you for making efforts to speak to us this beautiful morning.
Thank you very much, Ivan, and what was the other name?
Walunyolo.
Walunyolo. That name is very beautiful. If you come to Kenya, you can easily get a wife, very beautiful wife, very quickly.
Well, thank you so much. But also
Walunyolo.
to my engagements that you'll have as the legislators in as far as how we're doing this, and so that we can let the audience know what exactly is happening. So I want to once again thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you very much, and I greet all the people from Uganda, our brothers. We are one. It is only because of these colonial boundaries that were put asunder, but literally we are one people. There are Luos in Kenya, there are Luos in Uganda, there are Luos in Tanzania, there are Maasais in, I'm a Maasai myself, in Kenya, there are Maasais in Tanzania. So let us do away with these colonial boundaries and be one community, one people that speak one language.
Well, David Oli Sankok is, of course, the member of parliament, the East African Parliament representing Kenya, and he is trying to giving us insights onto that. But of course, he also put forward one interesting thing, that the East African Bank Oversight stands to be another issue, and they have been denied access. They've been told not to go and do any oversight to the bank. Quite an interesting story, because the taxpayers in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania,
and
Somalia, Rwanda, the 8 member states are paying, the taxpayers are paying money to the bank to stand and serve the citizens. But from his submission, they have been denied an oversight visit. So we're looking forward, and as time goes by, we're also following up on what transpires so that we can let you, our audience, know about this. For time reasons, allow me let the conversation back to the studios. A very good morning to you, our audience.